The footage is truly shocking of people involved in a vicious attack on police officers in Manchester prior to the video that was initially released last week. And I don't think I can recall a time when so many of you are so angry. Dave's flip-flop Ferrari, now the full facts are emerging. Are you ready to change? Hugh, bet you've changed your tune now. Re the Manchester assault. Youssef, this justifies my call. They deserve to be in court. Who gives them the right? I'm not changing my view. I can understand the build-up to it, but if you're a police officer, the idea is you bring the people to justice, not, it would appear, kick someone in the head when you've got them under control. So I'm sorry to annoy you even further, but I now see it. I absolutely get it. But there can't be a serving officer in the land who says, once the bloke is down, you can kick him in the face. Although we now know more of the background. Now, this new CCTV footage emerged in the moments leading up to that kicking at Manchester Airport. The Mayor of Greater Manchester Andy Burnham spoke with LBC. He told my colleague Paul Brand the new video explained why he'd originally described the situation as not being clear-cut, and then he added he's fed up of people using this incident for political gain.
I think people on both sides have used this situation for political purposes, and that isn't right. I think, going forward, there's learnings for everybody from situations like this. They are potentially quite dangerous because there can be public order implications from situations like these. To have it just stoked, particularly by politicians, I don't think is right at all. There has to be a better way of dealing with these things. Perhaps there needs to be consideration around more going into the public domain from the authorities more quickly.
On the same show on LBC yesterday, though, Kevin Hurley, a former Detective Chief Superintendent with the Met and former Police and Crime Commissioner for Surrey, gave his verdict on the new footage and claims it puts a different spin on the original pictures we saw last week.
The one officer who did deliver 2 kicks to the man on the ground was, throughout the whole of that, the man in control and, frankly, the hero. 2 of the police officers who were injured were police women. Fortunately, he was rescued by a female officer who tasered him. As he regained his feet, you can see the guy on the ground is starting to move. Therefore, he is still a threat.
Well, I don't know about that. He's flat out. Yesterday lunchtime, Ahmed Yaqub, the lawyer who'd been acting for the family involved in the incident and with whom I spoke on this show on Friday, posted a video to social media with his reaction to the new footage. Bearing in mind, on Friday he told me he considered the police officer kicking his client in the head to have been an attempted assassination, you might recall that. Had the new video changed his mind on the events of Tuesday night?
After viewing the CCTV footage from Manchester Airport, I would like to say that nothing can justify a kick to the head to a defenseless man and a stump to the head. Those are my views. These officers are highly trained. They shouldn't be losing control or seeing red.
Now, late last night, Mr. Yaqub posted another video on social media, in which he claimed media had tried to sabotage him and said he'd decided to step aside from acting in this case, but had recommended a new lawyer to the family and said he would be keeping a close eye on developments. All right, let's turn to someone who's been brave enough to act as a firearms response officer. Indeed, it rose to the rank of sergeant. He's also written a book on this, Firearms and Fatals. He joins me now, Harry Tangye. Good to have you on. Thank you for your time. Charges or a medal? Which would you say for these people involved in this? Good morning.
Hello, Nick. Yeah, medal. It's got to be. I mean, without going into too much of the detail, because people have been arrested and there's offences, but all I know is when I've been in a ruckus, if you like to call it, underneath a pile of people, a few punches to your head and you're wearing a firearm, you are very exposed. And you realise that not only if you lose this fight, if you lose this battle, and you can see your colleagues losing as well, then because you know they're losing because they're not coming to help you. It's a one-on-one and you're getting pummeled on your head several times. You realise you are a nano's from someone taking your weapon and using it on you or someone else. Now, just want to explain a misconception with taser. It's not like the TV. You know those stun guns that get you in the neck and they're unconscious? Doesn't happen. With a taser, when you fire it on someone, that taser goes through a 5-second process. You can make it go longer if you like, but it's considered torture, as you might rightly say, rightly think. Immediately that taser is released. The reason it's such a good, less lethal weapon is you are back to normal, and you can stand up and fight again. Now, this any officer who's managed to actually, you can see someone, if you're being pulled over and you're being after a huge fight when you have been taken several pounds to your head and you get up, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to take control. You've got to take control at that point, because you can't give up your advantage at that point. We also got to think, you've got adrenaline. You've got everything going on around you. And it's a nanosecond that officer reacts where those kicks. So it's not the usual effect. It's not Home Office approved. But when you think lethal force could have been approved at some stage there, because we don't know who these people are and they didn't. You don't know what their intentions are. And it could have been headline papers that yet another terrorist attack, ARVs overwhelmed, weapons taken, your and my family being taken out on departures.
But you've made a bit of a leap there, Harry, haven't you? You decided they're terrorists.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is you can't give the benefit of the doubt to someone who's attacking you, punching you in the face and smashing the nose of your colleagues.
But the men who we saw, and women in Manchester, who, as I said on Friday, are brave enough to run towards danger if there was an incident at the airport, they're the men and women who will put their lives on the line and confront the terrorists. Surely they're meant to be able to control that adrenaline surge, Harry.
Oh, come on, Nick. We're human, and I think it's only people who probably haven't been punched in the head and been stunned and realise the implications of what is actually happening. And it's not a jump, it's not a leap. When you are involved in violence, and I was still fighting people half my age when I was retiring, because people want to confront police and they think they can take the chances to get away. And this is the problem. But I think the biggest problem we've got is when you've got half the video, like you quite rightly mentioned earlier. Now's the time. We've got to. The police forces have got to stop hiding behind this thing where we can't give the evidence because it might affect the court case.
I think this is a point, lastly, on which we can agree. Are you, like me, a little disappointed it's taken... Well, in fact, actually, we still haven't seen the GMP video. The latest that's been released is from the Manchester Evening News.
Yeah, people have got to lose their jobs now. The MP of Rochdale, Paul Ward, jumping to conclusions. Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, I'm sorry, got to go. Chief Constable, disgusting behaviour, throwing more officers under the bus. Stephen Watson, absolutely disgusting, especially with the Chief Constable must have seen that footage, because chiefs say, look, I'm going to stick my neck on the line here, I need to see the footage. And yet he's still pandering towards a very minority part of the Pakistani Muslim community there, who I am quite sure would be just as disgusted as the rest of the country.
Enjoyed our conversation, Harry. Have to leave it there for time reasons only. Thank you, Harry Tangye, former retired response sergeant and author of Firearms and Fatals. Listening to that, Sean Caulfield, who's a criminal partner of the firm Hodge, Jones and Allen. Same question for you in a way. A police commendation or facing charges? Which do you think? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. I think what's happening here is that people are becoming quite emotionally involved in the footage they've seen and taking a side. Rather than do that, what I would suggest, and what is almost certainly happening behind closed doors, we take a step back and look at what the law says. What is it we are allowed to do as members of the public? What is it police officers are allowed to do? And I'm afraid to say this is really quite simple in many ways, and I'll sum it up in one word: reasonable. That's the word that appears again and again in the law. Were there reasonable grounds to believe these people have been committing criminal offence? Not were they, but were there reasonable grounds to think there were? First test, there probably was. If someone said they were, the officer knows no better. Mm-hmm. And was it reasonable to think it was them, it was the right people? Again, not huge for this case. But when they stop those two individuals, the test for the police officer is, do they need to use force at all? And then is the force they are using reasonable? Those are the tests that should have gone and probably did go through the minds of those individual officers, and particularly the one that we're talking about this morning. The final individual who will make that decision is likely to be, in my view at least, potentially, a juror. This could well go to a criminal court, and it will be the likes of you and I, Nick, who will sit on a jury, who will watch that footage and have an opportunity to see the body-worn footage that you've talked about.
Shouldn't we be able to see that earlier?
Well, I think that's an operational decision for Manchester Police, and I understand in normal cases why we would never get that at a particular early stage. Working in the industry, I understand that would never happen.
Why?
Well, the reason is that what they don't want to do is put that footage, and I'm talking about an ordinary case. This is very, very much not an ordinary case.
They lose the narrative then.
Well, I think you're absolutely right in this particular case. What's happening is there are all sorts of ideas, conspiracy theorists, people taking very strong views, not based on the evidence. All those things are happening. So this is not really now a matter for criminal law. This is politics that we're talking about here, and in some cases quite extreme politics.